Hi, I'm Rissel, and welcome to me screaming into the void, mostly about books. Alma Reads Books has created a challenge this year about her journey through reading time, and I have jumped on that and done some kind of modifications to it just to make it fit my own ideas and projects for this year. So her original project was that you were going to read one book from each decade from the 1910s onward, and one book from each century from the 21st century down to, I think we're landing on the 10th century in December. In addition to that, I wanted to do a similar project when I found Alma's project and readathon, but I wanted to go further back by going all the way back until 900 BC. So in January, I talked that maybe 900 BC is a little too far back. There are some books that far back, and you have the Homer, Iliad, Odyssey, you have Aesop's Fables, and you have, for example, Epic of Gilgamesh. But now in February, we have gone to 5th century BC, and that's where, if I was going to do a project again, I would start here, because this is where you sort of are starting to really get the Greek plays. This is one I read for 5th century BC. It's Helena by Euripides. It's quite an alternative presentation of Helen of Troy, where Helen never went with Paris to Troy, but landed on a deserted island, but everyone thought she had traveled to Troy. And what then happens when she is sort of been told about what has gone on in her absence. And I also read Tao Te Ching and Crimes and Sacrileges of Nabusuma Akatu. So I'm starting to realize that this is sort of the time where we are sort of getting not just religious texts, but literature, where the literature isn't about mythology, but about art and communication. So I'm really looking forward to going further with this project about reading also a little older. According then to, in addition to going way back, which is my sort of side add-on, what Alma is sort of talking about is that in February, she wanted us to read a book from the 20th century. And I read Umberto Eco's In the Name of the Rose. And I am starting to really, really love Umberto Eco. So this is about a monk and his assistant that arrives at a monastery that is known for its library. And then people are starting to die, and you have to figure out, well, why are all of these people dying? And you can sort of see a lot of this this is his first work, and Umberto Eco is educated as a language researcher in semiotics. And this book is very much just a novel presentation of his semiotics research. And I love it. I think it's so wonderful the way he sort of manages to talk about so complex topics as semiotics in such an entertaining way. But at the same time, having read some of his other works, his later works, this doesn't really measure up. This isn't his best. Up until now, I probably enjoy Foucault's Pendulum the best. That's probably my favorite Umberto Eco. But Umberto Eco can do no wrong, in my eyes, which is a horrible place for Umberto Eco to be, because of course he can do wrong, but he cannot do wrong. So that was the 20th century. And then she had, in February, reading a book published between 1920 and 1929. And because I want to be extreme about everything, I decided that I wanted to read one book from each continent. So I read one from Africa, one from Asia, one from Europe, one from the Americas, and one from Oceania. For Africa, I read Chaka by Thomas Mafolo, which is about Chaka, who is sort of the crown prince of what would later and today be known as the Zulu people, which is a very famous people in South Africa and Lesotho, where Thomas Mafolo is from. From the Americas, I read Passing by Nella Larsen, a book which I was told was about race and skin color, but more to me is about the annoying fact that when men cheat, the scorned partner gets angry at the woman rather than the man. Why are you angry at the woman and not the man? It also does talk about race, but I think it was so interesting to talk about it from a gender perspective, about why women end up hating other women when they should be angry at the man. I'm sorry, I'm going to just stop there. I will rant continuously. For Asia, I read Yellow Flower. I read Yellow Flower by Yoshia Nobuku. And this is a queer Japanese romance. And it's about a young teacher who falls in love with her student. And when I'm saying young teacher and student, the teacher is about 19, 20, and the student is 17. So that's the age brackets we're going for here. And then for Europe, I read The Gardener's Year by Karel Capek, which is a humoristic book that Karel Capek wrote about just what gardeners need to focus on in a year. Yeah. And lastly, for Oceania, I read Black Opal by Catherine Susanna Pritchard, which is about a mining society where they go in and mine gemstones, and everything then happens around this mining society when people want these gemstones and how to best get money from this. So it's actually a lot more drama around this than you might originally think with that premise. So looking back at these 5 books, we see that from the first video, the one in January, where the book from Africa was about African people are people, Now the book is about African peoples are heroes. They're telling a story about a hero narrative. And the American book has gone from what does it mean to be a country to what does it mean to be a member of that country, partly in regard to race and partly in regard to gender. The Asian story is again sort of dealing with this discussion about modernity and traditional values as it was in January. But now it's more, again, with gender roles and sexuality, and should women be allowed to live out their desires of being in a same-sex couple. While the Europe book has moved from focusing on women's issue to now focusing on roots and our roots and what does it mean to protect our roots. While the Oceanic book has moved from looking at sort of how fun it is to the Europeans doing funny, weird stuff, and now starting to look inwardly and trying to develop their own culture and identity. So that's what I read for Alma's Journey Through Time. What have you read for this project? Let me know, and thank you for listening to me screaming into the void.